I walk up to him, hey man, Ghoulish Dave. Oh yeah, you watch my channel? Yeah man, fuck you man. I started telling him. He was just like, man, what the fuck, man? I like watching, normally I hate normal movies. I like watching horror movies or just weird shit. But in December, I'll watch all the Christmas movies, and it just kind of happened organically. It's never like the guitarist comes up with the riffs and then we'll just jam it in the studio. It's never like, hey, you know what? Let's have a song that sounds like Negative Approach, but let's mix some, Paradise Lost in there. Nah, it's just like whatever. It just kind of flows together. And we are fortunate that every member in the band has a very similar taste.
All right, man. Well, I have really been looking forward to this ever since Vincent told me you need to check out this band that features one of my friends, Mordant Rhed. I think you're really going to like it. And then the first time that I listened to you guys was actually on the news rant. And I don't know, I think you saw the clip that I put with that, where I was hearing it the first time, and I was like, this is exactly my kind of fucking music. So great to have you on the show, man.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
I know. I've known about your podcast before because I can't remember what interview I saw, but one of them caught my attention. So I was definitely very aware of your podcast, and I saw when you tagged us in that news rant. I was like, that's pretty cool, man. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, no, well, as I said, definitely my kind of music. And I've not seen you live, but I have caught quite a lot of clips of you guys, including some clips from this past weekend's Dead by Dog show. Just what I saw, you guys were fucking on fire.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah,
it was a good time. It was it was high energy, that's for damn sure. And people were digging it. It was a good, actually, the whole show, though, every band just fucking ripped it up, man. It was a damn good show. We're just very happy to have been part of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was it? Because I had Justin on last year, and I briefly entertained going to Dead by Dog 2, but for whatever reason, my travel plans to the States are probably going to be for later this year rather than right now. But I was quite bummed to miss it. What was the show like just generally?
It was good, man. I mean, the whole weekend, the day before, we went to the Hell's Headbangers open house at their warehouse where they have all their shit, and definitely a good time there. Hanging out with a lot of people, man, and a lot of people already knew. Then a lot of people that I've corresponded with. So I talked to a shitload of people online, and some of them don't know what I look like without a mask on. I'll randomly walk up to see people that I know. Like there's this guy named Ghoulish Dave who has a YouTube channel, and you see him. He's always wearing this hat with a skull on. He's very he stands out. I walk up to him, hey man, Ghoulish Dave. Oh yeah, you watch my channel? Yeah, man. Fuck you, man. I started telling him. He was just like, man, what the fuck, man? And I said, I'm just joking. I told him who I was. He's like, man, you motherfucker. And I did that to a couple of people, man, just fucking around with them. But overall, it was a good time, man. And drinking and hanging out. And the funny thing is, J-Dawg was like, hey, man, we're going to do an interview with you. I was like, all right, that's fine. And he waited till after we were already full of alcohol.
Nice and toasty.
Oh, yeah. So we shot that interview, and I haven't seen it. I don't know when it's posted, but I don't know what all we said on there, but it was probably absurd shit.
Well, I actually wanted to. I was very tempted to become a member of his paid channel or his paid tier on YouTube just to see it, because he posted the thumbnail I think yesterday, and I was like,
oh, did he? Okay.
Before I spoke to you, but I've not gotten so far. But he's the success that he's had is pretty wild, and I think. Like, I look at it, I see some of the feedback that people give on the guy, and I've only ever spoken to one, had an exceptionally good first impression of him. He absolutely seemed like my kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I'll watch his channel and I'll think to myself, like, he underplays it a little bit. He says it's just because he posts frequently and he's consistent with putting out content. But I do think he's just a genuinely fascinating guy. I feel like you could follow him with a camera for 24 hours and you'd probably have some of the fucking funniest shit on any given day that you can imagine, just by virtue of him being the way that he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can agree. It's either you have it or you don't. If if you say, well, what can I do to be more entertaining? If you got to think about it, you don't have it, man. I mean, either you have that kind of personality or you're a unique kind of person or you're not. And I see other YouTube channels, not just metal, but just in general. Some people just are very addicted. You want to know more about them. And some other people are boring as fuck. Like, man, this motherfucker needs to never shoot a video again and take this shit off. But hey, more power to them though. If they want to put it up, excellent.
Yeah. Well, I think there's an element of you've got it or you don't. And then there's also an element of, I think some people, I mean, frankly, some people just don't have a personality, but I think the reason why people gravitate to people like Justin is there's an authenticity to him. So I've watched pro wrestling. I don't watch it anymore, but I've watched wrestling for as long as I can remember. And if you think of all of the greats in pro wrestling, Ric Flair in his prime, Stone Cold Steve Austin in his prime, even Stone Cold Steve Austin, I would argue like all the way back to WCW, but especially, ECW and then WWF when he was allowed to be himself, The Rock. And even if you then look at like the UFC and you look at the guys that are that became really popular in the UFC, it was all just them being themselves. And they were just allowed to express themselves the way that they wanted to, and they dialed up the volume on their personality a little bit, and that was it. But I think as much as I don't have a great deal of confidence in the average intelligence of the human race, the one thing that the audience can smell is bullshit, and they do smell bullshit when you try and pretend to be something or someone that you're not. They just reject it.
Yeah, that's very true. And the word authentic, just speaking as it is, not trying to think, okay, let me see, I'm going to do a video. What should I do? And what can I do to get people to like me or some bullshit like that? People can tell it's fake. You're 100% right about that.
What made you decide to start your channel?
It was all about the band. I mean, we had the band before and usually we have band practice. We practice once a week, every week. We get in there and start talking a bunch of shit, basically the same stuff I already do, or basically what I transferred to the channel. We already did that. I thought, you know what? Just get on the fucking video and start talking about this shit, about old bands and stuff. And then as far as the mask and everything, when we started this band, I wanted it to be more theatrical than other stuff that I've done before in the past. And I don't want to wear corpse paint. I like corpse paint. I think it's cool, but I'm not putting that shit on. I'm not going to put it on every time. It's too much trouble. So I thought, let's put a mask on. But okay, everybody else has done a mask as well. So I thought maybe this looks more fucking hillbilly and put a bunch of fucking patches and look absurd. Just something to kind of stand out a little bit. I mean, of course, I know what I am doing. What we're doing is not, reinventing the wheel, as they say, but, just try to do something a little bit different and then talk about the band. And also with this YouTube channel, even from the very, very beginning, it was mostly to talk about other bands and then a small percentage to talk about our band as well. Because if I did a channel just our band all the time, people are going to get bored of that. So yeah, I want to talk about other stuff. And it's not that I'm talking about other stuff because I'm trying to get viewers. It's just stuff that I like, whether it's horror movies, punk rock, black metal, you name it.
And you've been going for quite a while now. You started in July. I'm just looking at YouTube now. You started July 13th, 2022.
Yeah. Yeah, it just kind of just snowballed, I guess. I mean, it's people seem to like it, and I truly appreciate it every time I hear when somebody said they liked the shit. Even at the show, man, this past Saturday, I talked to so many people, man, and they were all legitimately, oh, I love the videos and stuff, and I appreciate it, man. It means a lot.
How did you kind of, I guess, I'm trying to find the right word here, but how did you evolve the idea for the channel? Like, from when you started to kind of finding the rhythm that you're in right now, because I've watched some of your recent videos and I really like them as well. But, I know, speaking for myself, when I look back at like episode 1, episode 2 of Into the Necrosphere, I'm like, fucking hell, that was atrocious. There were certain things about my personality that was fine. I was very reserved in certain ways. Like you can hear when I was talking just by myself when I was doing like the unsanctioned filth, or what I used to call it, like the underground spotlight at the time. I'd speak really softly. And it definitely took me like quite a few years to become properly comfortable to be able to just talk and just be myself when the camera is going.
Well, that is interesting because early on when this, when this started, the band, we had played a couple of shows before the channel started. We thought, you know what, fuck playing shows. We're going to be just underground band and release demos and stuff and, not really focus on playing live or anything. So with the channel, if you look back, people that have watched the channel know early on, I used to use a pitch shifter on my voice and sound like a fucking serial killer and all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
Just to look absurd. And then it was I wasn't as animated because it was, it's not like I was faking it, but I was still just trying to, this cold black metal motherfucker. But then eventually my real personality just came out, which you have now. I finally got rid of that pitch shifter shit because it makes no sense where we start playing shows and you hear a video and I got this deep pitch shifted voice, and then you meet me in person and it makes my voice sound like it's a lot higher than it should be. So what the fuck what's going on here? So I cut that shit out. You still see some of the older videos that have that on there, but I don't do that anymore. And it just kind of evolved to what it is now, kind of just with the band as well. Early on, we were more second wave kind of black metal, mixed a little bit of first wave, but everybody in the band likes all kinds of different stuff, and it just kind of amalgamated into what it is now, where it's a combination of all kinds of shit. It's kind of even hard to even say it's black metal anymore because there's so much mixture of other shit in there now.
Well, if I think about Knife Wound Memories, for example, because I was listening to that EP again today, and I was thinking, like, because I'd seen you refer to yourselves as black metal, and I was like, I don't know if I would say this is black metal. This is definitely like black metal attitude, but there's punk, there's thrash, there's like a little bit of death metal in here. But everything seems to sit very harmoniously next to each other. Like a lot of bands that draw from a huge pool of influences, some of it can feel tacked on. I'm also from South Africa, where unfortunately, my home country, they're great at a great many things. Making metal is not one of them. So it's like, there's always some fucking idiot on the, like, you can tell because there's always on the band photo, there'll be a guy with an Iron Maiden t-shirt and one guy with a Lamb of God t-shirt and one guy with an In Flames t-shirt. And then there's one guy that listens to the heavy stuff. He'll have like a Cannibal Corpse t-shirt on. And it'll always be like, you can literally hear who wrote what part of the song when you listen to it. It's fucking terrible. But like when I listen to Knife Wound Memories, there's almost a flow to how everything goes. Like, so the influences are coming and going as they're deployed as needed, but there's a natural flow to the way the music sounds. But that EP is fucking sensational.
Appreciate that, man, and we're very happy with it too, man. It's actually the split LP, us with Lord Humongous.
Yeah, who I've also featured on the podcast. Also, fucking great band.
Yeah, fucking excellent, man. But it just kind of happened organically. It's never like the guitarist comes up with the riffs and then we'll just jam it in the studio. It's never like, hey, you know what? Let's have a song that sounds like Negative Approach, but let's mix some, Paradise Lost in there. Nah, it's just like whatever. It just kind of flows together. And we are fortunate that every member in the band has a very similar taste. It's not like we have one guy that's a death metal guy, one guy is a punk guy. Everybody likes a lot of the same shit. I mean, we really do. It's really weird. We're all talking about whether it's DRI one day, and then we're talking about, I don't know, mutilation from France another day. It's everybody likes all that kind of shit. Mentors, Gigi Allen, all that shit.
Mm. And you kind of bring that mindset into the into the band room with you, and it just works really well. When did you guys decide that you wanted to start playing live, like that you were going to shift away from just doing the demo stuff and actually become a live band? Because it would have been a shame had you never gone down that route, just based on what I've seen, because you seem very comfortable and very natural when you're on stage.
Yeah, I'm not a shy guy. But this is a good question, though, because honestly, when we first started, it was literally just me and the guitarist. Like, hey, let's do a black metal band, and then I would just play the drums, and then we were just planning on literally just doing some bullshit raw cult demos, and put it up online, whatever. And then the bass player we've known for 30 fucking years, so it's like we've all known each other a long time. Hey man, you want to play and do a black metal band with us? All right, sure, fuck it. And we had this other idiot to start playing drums. We played a couple of shows early on, and that guy was a fucking moron, and he disappeared. So it was just us three, and I would just play the drums, and we would record like all that early stuff. I play the drums and sang on it, and luckily we found a much better drummer. But back to your question about playing live, we weren't going to, but then they had that Disastrous Fest here in Texas, and I don't even remember what year it was, but the promoter asked, do you want to play? I was like, we do. We don't have a drummer, so I'm not going to do that. He said, well, we can get you a drummer to play. And ironically, it was somebody we already knew in these New Jersey guys from black metal guys from the band called Sin, S-Y-N, and Jersey Devil. They have a cool little black metal scene up there, and a guy I've been talking to behind all that said he would play drums for us on that. I was like, all right, well, come on down. And then he played drums, and then we ended up doing a couple of different shows in Texas, and then we went up to the Northeast and stayed at his house, and he played drums for us again, and we played a bunch of shows up there. And then luckily we found a local drummer where we could actually practice, and it really helped to sound better, because before I would focus on trying to get the drums down. Like, for example, the Eat Pussy for Satan full length, the vocals weren't even done until after we recorded the drums, and then after that I had to figure out how to put it. And it just sounds more natural when you actually rehearse the vocals in the studio versus just trying to figure it out after the music's recorded. So it all worked out pretty good.
Well, what's the scene like? Because you guys are based out of Houston, right?
Correct. It's good around here, man. The shows are sometimes really crazy, and sometimes they're okay. But it's a good scene. A lot of people around, and they have these heavy metal markets that happen once a month, which bring out a lot of people. So it's pretty good. I mean, that, and also San Antonio, which ironically 2 weeks previous here, 2 weeks ago, we played in San Antonio, and it was a fucking crazy ass show. It was packed, and people. We went on at 12:30 at night, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and people were completely trashed when we played, and it was out of control. It was very, very wild show. And also what was funny about that show too, going back to what you were talking about, our sound not so much pure black metal, it was called a black metal show, and all the other bands we played with, Fluxus Mortis and all these other bands from Texas, they were straight black metal, Corpse Paint, that kind of shit. And we sounded so different than the rest of them, because they were classic black metal. Me didn't have any of that shit, which we do have some songs like that, but they're on their older stuff, and we haven't played any of that live in a while.
The thing is, though, live, your style of black metal, or the Mordant Rhed sound, it just goes over so much better live. Like, I'm a huge fan of Marduk as an example, but I've said it so many times on this podcast. If you go see them play, it's cool for like 5-6 songs, but if all they play is like super, super fast stuff, it just becomes really fucking monotonous. And you're also kind of left to the mercy of whoever is doing the sound that night. And if the person that's doing your sound fucking sucks, you are going to sound terrible. Like, I saw Hate Eternal. As a matter of fact, I've seen them twice where this has happened, where I'm a big Hate Eternal fan. The first time I saw them, I think I left after 2 songs. I was like, I don't even know what the fuck they're playing. It just sounds like a record.
Yeah.
And then the second time, it was kind of the same thing. I got to like track 3, 4, and I'm like, this is just monotonous. I know these songs like the back of my hand, but seeing them played, it just falls flat.
Yes, if there's this constant blasting all the way through it, the sound guy doesn't have it right, it's gonna sound like dog shit.
Yeah,
that's no question. And I love the first Hate Eternal and Marduk. I love those bands. And again, I love blast beats, but sometimes you get an album where it's kind of hard to decipher one song from another. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking shit on that, because there are a lot of albums that I fucking love that are like that, and it's okay. But with this band, we were trying to write songs that you'll remember. And again, that doesn't mean I'm thinking, oh, we're so much better. No, it's not that. It's just try something different, and try to have, I hate to say this, but with the punk element, like songs that actually have choruses and shit like that, backup gang vocals and shit like that. So we wanted to incorporate that kind of stuff in there too. And it's also not like we're trying to think, what can we do to be cerebral and do something really cool to stand out? It's not really that, but because it also comes to the fact that we all like all kinds of different shit. So it just really happened organically how it just kind of mended. Because if you listen to one of our older EPs, like we have one called Fuck Your Feeble World, that is just straight black metal. It's just like that, it's blast with a 2-step beat, and, there was no punk rock in that shit at all. But it just kind of evolved to what it is now.
But you have to give people you have to give the audience something to latch onto if they don't know you.
Right.
I totally agree with you. There's a bunch of albums that's blasting from start to finish that I love to listen to. But live, if I didn't know the band, especially, it would just sound like one continuous racket to me. There wouldn't be something that I leave that venue going, fuck, man, there was something to that band. And right. I mean, rare exceptions. But you brought up on your channel, you brought up Broken Hope, and obviously, unsurprisingly, I'm a very big fan considering the name of the podcast. I got into them in '95. And this is one of those things where you guys said it on the live stream that you did with J-Dawg a little while back. When you're talking like this and you're recording like the shit that you should remember, you suddenly drops out of your head. Repulsive Conception was the album that I got into them on. But I'm very good friends with Jeremy, and I saw them play. So I've seen them play 3 times with Damien as the frontman. And the second of those 3 times, I saw them open for Cattle Decapitation, and they fucking mopped the floor with that band. I mean, made them look like total dog shit, because all of the best Broken Hope songs all have these fucking sick breakdowns, and they're really groovy, and like, they're insanely heavy. And then Damien on stage is an absolute savage. He's muscled up. He looks good. He moves around a lot. The band sound really, really good. Just that basic approach that they have on that night. I said to Jeremy afterwards, like, look, I may be a little bit biased, but that was one of the best death metal shows I have ever seen in my life. And almost everyone with me was like, yeah, no, 100% agree.
Well, absolutely, because they have some great songs. Like even the song "Swamped in Gore" itself.
Yes.
I mean, that is just, oh man, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, man, because it goes from blasting, deep vocals from one song, and then I hate to use the word groove, but it literally makes it imagine like a circle pit just going. When I first bought Swamped in Gore, I literally bought it because it was on Grindcore Records, and I had other stuff on that label, so I thought, let's check this out. The cover looks kind of cheap and shitty looking, but I bought it. And it just blew me away when it first opened up with the deep vocals, and I fucking love it, man. And their first 4 albums, I absolutely love. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the Bowels of Repugnance, there are some sick songs on that, especially Felching Vampires. I think they played Felching Vampires one of the nights that I saw them. Sounded fucking insane. Repulsive Conception, genius. The thing that always caught me about that album was, like, the first time I heard it, I was 15 years old, so it kind of sounded to me a little bit like it reminded me an awful lot of Tomb of the Mutilated. And then you suddenly get to Pitbull Grin, and then you realize the insane thing about this song is that Joe actually sounds more aggressive than the dog that they sampled. And also,
his vocals
just
are fucking brutal.
well, I was going to say, because you mentioned it on your video, you know where he sounds at his fucking most aggressive and most pissed off? The first song on Loathing, Siamese Screams, that like opening, because the guitar is like da 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 da, and it's like, oh, begins to split, but it doesn't separate. It's like so. It's I've never heard such deep vocals without effects or anything like that. I mean, that is just like pure, like right from the guts.
It is excellent. I always liked his vocals, man. Excellent.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. I would say though, I know you haven't been as impressed by him as I've been, but Damien he's a great dude. He runs like a pit bull. I don't know if he runs a pit bull rescue or if he does it for the city in Chicago. But he's a good guy. His other band Gorgasm is excellent as well. But as a frontman for Broken Hope, on stage he's hard as fucking nails. He's brilliant.
Oh yeah. Actually, I have seen them with him on vocals at the Las Vegas Psycho Fest. And they were fucking brutal as shit. When I say I'm not so much into the newer albums, it's just because it's almost too technical for my taste. Because I want to hear some of that fucking beat down shit like the early stuff. So that's my gripe about the newer stuff. It's not crap. I still like it, but I listen to Broken Hope. I'm going to go back to the early stuff. That's just what I like.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a bit about your tastes in music, because I'm not gonna guess your age, but I would suggest we're probably around about the same age. When did you get into metal? What was kind of the introduction to the music, and how did that develop as you got deeper into it?
Oh, it was all about my dad, because he listened to that shit. He had Killers, Alice Cooper record, and then I got into Kiss and saw Rock and Roll or Phantom Kiss in a Phantom of the Park, whatever the fuck it's called, that movie. I was into that. And then when I can still remember when these solo albums came out, I went to the store and they had the whole display. And my dumbass, I was looking at Ace Frehley. I was like, should I get this one? Nah, I got Peter Criss and said that was a worst fucking album. But got that, and then 83, my dad bought Motley Crue Shout of the Devil, and then it was just, he had Black Sabbath. I still have his Black Sabbath Paranoid 8-track over there. Just listening to stuff like that, just kept getting in more and more into heavy stuff, learning about thrash and heavier shit. Actually, before I learned about thrash, I knew about W.A.S.P. also. I learned about them from movies, this movie called Dungeon Master, 85 or something, like 84. I learned about W.A.S.P. was on that movie, and then 85, Return of the Living Dead and Class of 1984 came out, both punk movies, and that got me more into punk, and then it just kept growing from there.
Just before we go on with that, it's super dangerous to talk to me about W.A.S.P. on this podcast. It became like a running joke for a while, because a lot of the European bands that I have on, almost all of them, were into W.A.S.P, and we'd kind of sort of accidentally stumble onto it. And I think for a long time doing the podcast, I never really brought it up, because they were such a, for a period of time at least, like such a unfashionable band to be into. But man, I loved them when I was young. I still love them. And like going back and listening to them now, if you listen to even like what's considered like a lesser W.A.S.P album, like Inside the Electric Circus, listen to King of Sodom and Gomorrah. What a fucking song. Like, there was, in that whole like hair metal glam rock scene, there was nobody doing music that was as ballsy as W.A.S.P was doing. Like they had the look, but there was a real outlaw scumbag edge to their music, which made them just a million times better and a million times more fun.
And then it also helped with the decline of the Western civilization too. Chris Holmes in that pool.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever see the Chris Holmes documentary that he did later on? What did you think of that?
I thought it was cool. It was interesting, especially to see where he's at now and him going around playing shows. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know, any kind of music documentary I like to watch. I mean, of course, I like to watch bands I like, but I'll even watch stuff that I don't like, just because I just find musicians interesting. Like I watched I think it was an HBO or something, one about Red Hot Chili Peppers, which I despise that band. I fucking hate that band, but I watched a documentary, and the reason I did, because they did come up from the California punk scene, so I wanted to watch it for that regard, and it was pretty damn interesting, and I'll watch usually anything about music, and, I'm not a fan of rap, but I watched a history of hip-hop documentary a while back, and I was thoroughly entertained. I enjoyed it.
I have been meaning to watch that. I actually, there is a fair bit of rap that I do like. Nothing new. Like I joked the other day with Alan from Primordial and said, like, I'm much more of an elitist when it comes to rap than when it comes to metal. Like if it's not, pre 1994, and if at least 2 or 3 members of the band didn't spend lengthy periods of time in prison, I'm not interested. But I've never watched History of Hip Hop, and it's always been on my list of things to watch. But I've never gotten around to it. I definitely
it's good. It's interesting.
The thing is, it's like it is a really, it's a very like rich history, and the thing that I love about it was, I mean, I know just from seeing stuff like. Something I can relate to in that regard. I watched a documentary on YouTube about the I think it's called like the South Miami party hip hop scene, and it was the documentary was all about Poison Clan and 2 Live Crew, and then Luke from 2 Live Crew eventually going to court, being arrested for obscenity, and the whole furor that blew up there because they wanted to censor him and this, that, and the other. And I was completely engrossed. It was like a 2.5-hour documentary. I was like, fucking hell, this is fucking amazing.
Hey, it's interesting, man. I get sucked in. Actually, I even watched, I think over Christmas last year, I watched that fucking Wham documentary too. And that's not really a band that I like. I like their Christmas song, but that's about it.
Oh, dude, I hate Christmas music. That's the one thing. I'm very open-minded when it comes to music. I love Queens of the Stone Age, Chelsea Wolfe, Emma Ruth Rundle, stuff like that. I mean, I love a lot of like 60s and 70s music as well, but
yeah.
Christmas music, to me, it's...
Well, you don't want to be around this house in December because that's all I play is Christmas music. I fucking absolutely love Christmas. That King Cole Christmas album, Elvis. Oh, man. Not a whole month. And you want to hear some real pussy shit? Every time I tell this story, people, they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I like watching, normally I hate normal movies. I like watching horror movies or just weird shit. But in December, I'll watch all the Christmas movies and I'll watch, all kinds of shit. And there was one time I was getting ready for work. There was a Christmas movie on, and it was some of those bullshit Lifetime ones, I'm sitting there watching it, getting ready. I got so sucked in. I'm not gonna be in today. Just so I can watch, the rest of that shit. And I tell people that, they're like, "Man, I wouldn't tell anybody that if I was you." Oh, fuck it, I don't care.
So if you had to count down like favorite 5 Christmas movies, what would they be?
Oh, Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer for sure. Rankin Bass. I like anything with a Christmas Carol, and actually I see they have a new one coming out with Johnny Depp. Which
Ebenezer.
Yeah, normally movies that come to the theater I don't give a fuck about, but I am going to go see that. And I actually like the Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey too. Normally I don't like that kind of shit, but I thought that was a good movie. It had a lot of dark horror to it. There's also another Christmas Carol that has Guy Pearce playing on there. It's a very dark. It's definitely not family oriented. It's got some shit kids shouldn't see on there, but it was really, really good.
Guy Pearce is a fucking fantastic actor, though.
Yes, he is.
I'm just taking a look at that now. So that was actually a TV series. Yeah, the Christmas Carol TV series. See, when it comes to like the Charles Dickens Christmas Carol, Scrooged is that's my movie.
Oh, Bill Murray, yeah.
I fucking love that. So if I thought of like Christmas movies, like Scrooge would definitely be on the list. Mm-hmm. I know it's not considered a Christmas movie, but I consider it a Christmas movie because A, when it was released, and B, I have a tradition with my daughter.
What, Die Hard?
No, no, I don't have the Die Hard tradition with her yet. I'll save that for my son when he's born. But my no, Lord of the Rings. So we watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy end to end every Christmas. So I would lump that into Christmas movies. I do like the Grinch as well, the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Yeah, actually, I do too.
Fucking funny. And then and I do like Die Hard very much.
Yeah,
and my other go to Christmas movie is Bad Santa. The
that's pretty fucking funny. And actually, there's another. It's this newer horror director named Joe Begos did that Santa Claus robot killing movie, Christmas Bloody Christmas, which came out a couple years ago.
I know about the movie. I never really watched it though. Well, not really. I never watched it.
I just assumed it'd be garbage. But I watched it and I love the atmosphere, the colors, and it starts off they're working in a record store. You can see punk rock and metal shit on the wall, and then what was funny, I've said this before on a video where people reviews about that movie said, these people on here are so unrealistic. Nobody acts like that, and it's like people cussing every other word. I'm like, well, everybody I know talks like that. I mean, everybody was on the movie I could relate. Like, I know a guy like that. I know a girl like that.
Yeah.
But Christmas Bloody Christmas, really good movie.
Just on the horror movie kick, that's another thing that I feel like there's like I can count maybe one or two every year that comes out and that you go, wow, that was really, really good. But the pickings are very slim, generally speaking. If I think about last year, for example, I thought Weapons was absolutely amazing.
That was good. I did watch
fantastic.
That. Yeah.
Outside of that, horror-wise, I mean, unless you count Warfare, which is not a horror movie, but if it's horror adjacent, I'm not really sure there was anything else that blew me away.
The thing that I run into a lot with horror movies these days, there's been numerous. I will start watching one, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty fucking good, man. I get halfway through. This just has my attention, and then they get halfway through it. It feels like they just couldn't figure out what else to do with it, and it just all fell apart and just threw it all together. I've seen that a lot with movies, and it's just crazy. But that Backrooms movie, everybody has a lot of hoopla behind that. I watched that, and I enjoyed that too. I thought it was pretty good.
We saw that at the cinema the other night, and I thought it was all right. Again, I actually felt about that movie like you feel about a lot of others, where it's like I got to with that one, it was more like I got to the 3/4 mark, and I was like, okay, just stay the course now, just stay good. And I just felt like they couldn't land the ending. And I'll tell you another great example of that. I don't know whether you watched the Cape Fear TV series that they just put out on Apple TV, but the biggest problem with that show is it feels like they wrote the first 6 episodes, they filmed it, and then they started writing everything else, and they hadn't really thought about what was going to happen beyond that. So it starts becoming a lot of convenience logic, just bullshit stuff that you look at and you go, like, it makes no sense that the character would do that. And that's very commonplace in a lot of modern horror and modern thrillers for me at the moment.
We see, going back to Backrooms, the reason it's because I was already watching that guy's YouTube channel before the movie came out, so I was already a fan of those movies. So that's why I just love it, because it's the whole premise behind it that you get stuck in that, and it's pretty fucking scary to think about it. So I like a lot of movies like that are kind of slow. Like there's another director called Panos Cosmatos that I really fucking love. He did a movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow, which is a very slow, atmospheric movie. He also did a movie called Mandy that has Nicolas Cage, has like satanic bikers on there and all this weird shit. And that's one of my favorite directors too, because these days I used to like a lot more gory shit, but now I like more atmosphere now. Something with a cool atmosphere, something that'll make you think. But of course, I still like to go back and watch Cannibal Holocaust and all that kind of shit too, But as far as anything new, I've already seen all that shit.
Now, if you like something that's slow and atmospheric, please tell me that you liked Hereditary.
I did
as much as I do.
Yes. I remember when I first saw it, that fucking fucked up looking little girl stuck her head out the window and her head got knocked off. That caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, the thing that they did with that movie, and in a way, it was brilliant. Like commercially, maybe not the smartest decision if you want to promote the movie, but they promoted the movie like she's kind of the main protagonist in the film, and she's going to be there the whole time. So, as you just said, now that when she dies, especially the fact that she dies as early as she does in the movie, it just catches you completely off guard. And the movie is so different too. If you look at the trailer, they're like, they're comparing it to The Exorcist and they're comparing it to The Shining, both amazing movies, but it's so completely different. It's just its own thing completely, and that's why I love it so much. It's one of the most original stories that I had seen for 20 years. Like I came out of the theater and I've watched it several times since. And I felt like this was the best horror movie I think I've watched since I first saw The Shining when I was about 14 or 15 years old.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's a damn good movie. And sometimes the trailers don't need to tell the whole story. I've watched trailers now and it shows everything. Like, well, I already know what's going to happen. And that's why, like, back in 1987 when The Predator came out, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Also one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yes, absolutely. It is. But back then, the trailers did not tell you there was an alien. It looked like, it was an action movie, but they were fighting. It was some kind of dark force, but it wasn't clear. So you didn't know until you actually got there. And, there was no internet to get spoilers. So I went and watched it, and I was like, oh, this is fucking great. Saw it twice in the theater. I thought it was so good.
Did you ever see you must have seen the Jean-Claude Van Damme suit?
Yeah, he like a fucking insect.
Holy shit, man. My daughter is 12 years old now, and she's starting to really get into horror movies. So we've watched Hereditary together. We've watched The Shining. We watched Predator. She really likes Predator. What she's getting really into is doing makeup. So the other day she showed me a bunch of photos of like, doing like a slit throat for herself or like a cracked skull. I was like, you're 12 years old. But anyway, so like I try and find, clips and stuff on YouTube of horror makeup and, costumes and monsters and things like that. And we came across a documentary the other day of what the Predator first looked like. And let's just say very, very different movie. They got with the original suit.
Yeah, that would have ruined it. But that movie, not just the special effects and things, the cinematography and the build up to the killings and stuff. I mean, that is cinematic brilliance. I mean, you go back and watch the build up to when Carl Weathers dies on there.
Oh, man,
yeah. Here you go.
It's the original suit.
Yeah, imagine that shit.
Fuck. It's terrible. And the worst thing is, in the movie, he's smaller than Schwarzenegger. So there was like one of the things that Carl Weathers was talking about on the documentary was they would have like the standoff. I think they had filmed the standoff between Jean-Claude Van Damme and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it just looked ridiculous because it looks like Arnie would just flatten him with one hand and the movie's over. It actually worked perfectly that. You had what was his name? Kevin Hall, who played the Predator, and who's like a 7'4" basketball player. He looked so big, and he made Arnie look so small.
It worked perfectly. Perfect. That movie is so good, and even the cast itself, it was just such good characters. Jesse Ventura, Sonny Landham, all those guys. Man, it was just so good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you with the build-up as well. I never saw that at the theater because I was too young when I saw it the first time. I was I think 11, but I remember watching it and then rewinding and watching it 3 more times on the same day. And I really do think if I had to tally up every single viewing I've had of that movie, it is well north of 100. I've watched it so many times and I never ever get bored of it. Where do you stand on Predator 2?
It's good. It's obviously not as good as the second one. I did see Predator 2 at the theater as well. I would rather have seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I mean, Danny Glover works. He's more realistic. It's more grounded. It's interesting that there was other people that I think they were trying to get Patrick Swayze to play that part before Glover and somebody else, and they all turned it down. But I like it. I like how it starts off with the gang warfare and the big shootout and that whole side story. I think it's a good movie, and also it was that little, at the end, that little Easter egg where they showed the alien xenomorph skull in the trophy room. So it's cool. I like it, but I definitely don't watch that one as much as I watched the first one. That's for damn sure.
I've developed a real soft spot for that movie over the years, and I think it's in part because I really like Danny Glover. I do like the urban setting. It's a real shame they weren't able to secure Arnold to bring him back, because I think having like the Dutch character, even if he was just there doing a cameo talking about how horrible it was, he's got PTSD or whatever the case may be. Right. It's a shame they never were able to make that connection. But I'll tell you, one of my favorite parts of that whole movie, when King Willie has done the bone reading and he's like staring up at the sky knowing there's some shit coming, and he's rambling all this nonsense like, his foundation lies in the holy mountain. And then you just see like the Predator drops off the building, and the next scene you see he's walking off and he's holding his head in his hand. It's such a just perfect cut.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of cool stuff like that, which in actuality, I need to go back and rewatch it, because it's been a few years since I've watched that again, so I need to revisit it, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. Predators I liked as well. Again, I don't understand. If they wanted to keep making Predator movies, why they didn't just carry on with that. I thought Prey was completely crap. And then what really hurt my heart and hurt my feelings was watching this fucking awful Predator Badlands, and to see the Predator learn what love is. And he's like putting his head up against like a cute little animal and all sorts of shit at the end. I literally watched that and I thought I would rather watch fucking Baby Einstein on YouTube. I'd rather watch the news than watch the shit.
Well, I haven't seen that one. Now I really don't want to see it.
Dude, I've firstly, it's not a spoiler. So I've just saved you not just like 2 hours of your time, but the emotional disturbance, the emotional distress of watching that crap. Knowing how highly you regard Predator.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fucking awful.
Yeah, that sounds fucking crap.
Dude, it's terrible. Absolutely fucking atrocious. But just circling back very quickly to the YouTube channel, how much of an impact do you think that the YouTube channel has had on actually promoting the band? And before you answer, I'll tell you the context of why I asked the question. Myself and Alan Averill were talking about how difficult it is in like today's age to get a band to break through the clutter, because there's so much music coming out all the time. There's so many bands out there. And I kind of feel like, looking at you guys, for various reasons, and I've got my opinions on this, but for various reasons, I do feel like you guys are managing to sort of break through the wall of distortion a little bit. But do you think that the website has contributed? Not the website, sorry, the YouTube channel has contributed to that?
Oh, 100%, man. Because the thing is, I get people sending me new bands all the time. My friends, that check out this link to this streaming band, and I hear like, man, this is really good. Then I go to the next band, then I forget who that was, and there's so many great bands I hear, but it's just hard to keep up with them. And yeah, I feel, like I said, I'm confident. I feel that our band is really good. Are there other bands better? Yeah, whatever. But I feel confident that we're a good band. But this YouTube presence and stuff, it helps immensely. It does. I mean, as far as people see the face on here with the fucking mask, and it's just, it stands out too, and so it's helped. And I try to stay up understanding how this shit works, as far as YouTube and all these social media, constantly posting shit and posting shorts. A lot of people make fun of that. Oh, it's fucking YouTube bullshit. If you're not using it, you're a fucking idiot, because it's free advertisement. And if you do it right, you can get your name out there. But the thing is, you got to have some kind of niche or it's you. I mean, that's not saying, hey man, if you're in a band, go put on a mask and start screaming at a camera. No, that's not going to work for everybody. But you got to have something to make you stand out. And I don't know if social media is a good thing. Well, you say that it's a good and bad thing. There's also a lot of bad stuff to it too, where people abuse it, putting a bunch of fucking crap and shit talking stuff. But as far as just promoting a product, a band, whatever, if you do it right, you can get people to know who you are.
1,000%. You know, without social media, as an example, this conversation wouldn't be happening. My conversation with Vincent wouldn't have happened that I recorded for the podcast, a couple of months back. This whole kind of scene, I had said for quite a while that I felt like the metal scene was going to sort of split off into these subsections. We would just almost self-organize to where people that want to listen to agriculture and fucking, Dawn Raid and all their communist nonsense, they can stay in their own corner. Ideally, stay very far away from me. then there would just be this natural thing where people like you and I gravitate towards a certain group of people, certain bands, certain scene. I absolutely stick by that. I feel like if I look at something like Dead by Dog, if you make it topical based on what you've just done, I can 100% see that. I can 100% see it at all the shows that I go to. Yeah, the people that I hang out with, the bands I have on the podcast. There's kind of a loose affiliation of bands that sort of orbit the podcast as well. Bands like Werewolves out of Australia, Drew Goth, Gravier, bands like that. We've all kind of self-organized, but all of that stuff comes from social media. That's where all of that came from. So yes, there's bad things about it. I totally agree, but it's also just the reality of living in 2026. You can go back to writing letters if you want. See how that works out for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know about some of these fuckers that say they just want to be cult, man. Like, hey, if you want to make 5 cassettes and give them to your grandmother, hey, more power to you. But as much effort and shit we put into this band, I want people to hear it. And I want to play shows. I mean, so if anybody says, "Oh, I'm not trying to get my name out there," well, you're fucking stupid. You're lying. I mean, it's just if you put your effort into something, you want people to hear it. That's just what it is, and that's how we approach this. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, a lot of time and effort, talking with people, making music videos, and everything. It all kind of just goes together, and somehow all the stars lined up just right, and it's worked so far.
Well, the one thing I wanted to ask you, and I was curious about this as soon as I saw it. Some of the reels that you post on Instagram where you're promoting shows, they are filmed at the same angle and they got the same vibe as like the best pro wrestling promos. So question for you. Did you get the idea from, or are you like channeling pro wrestling promos? Because dude, it's fucking gold. I love it. I saw it and I mentioned it on the news rant as well. I said, like, he is cutting a better promo than I've seen cut for fucking the last 5 years in professional wrestling. The guy is awesome.
Well, that's a combination. I mean, obviously wrestling for sure, because I've always been a big fan since the 80s of wrestling. Not now, not so, actually not at all. I don't even watch it now, but back then I did. And, but also that kind of, animation, whatever, I'm already like that anyway. So it's not like I'm trying to think, okay, let me go look at an old interview. How can I copy that? It's just kind of who I am, but I do ham it up, for the rest. Go on, and just add a little more extra to it, and it makes it's interesting, and it's not bullshit, because anybody can attest if they're hanging out with me. I mean, there's been times where I'm hanging out with people and talking loud and shit. It's just who I am,
Well, people that want to say it's bullshit, you put your phone in front of you, or you stick a camera on, and you try and do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not in everybody's wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. And again, honestly, though, as far as people talking shit, though, normally you see in the comments people talking shit. I I have to say, on all the videos I put up, it's a very small percentage of people talking shit. And those, I used to fuck with them. Now I just ignore it. I don't delete them. I just ignore it because I'd rather spend time talking to the cool people that do put good comments instead of me sitting there talking shit to somebody. It's a waste of time, man. But as I mentioned before, I don't get mad about that because I think about if YouTube was around when I was 15 years old, I would be on there with a faceless account talking all kinds of shit. You fuck you, pussy. I mean, so I get it. So that's why I don't get mad at it. But of course, if it's a 30-year-old man doing that, you got a fucking problem, come to the show and say in my face, But
yeah, 100%. I'm also, if I look at some of the stuff that Justin deals with, comments,
man,
and
his
some of the
comment
stuff
sections.
Oh, dude, it's fucking insane. Just the episode that I had him on my podcast, the deluge of fucking idiocy was just mind-boggling. But actually, then you look at somebody who's got a bigger profile like Wyatt, my friend who runs Wyatt's Metal. I mean, good Lord. Like when they try and dress him down because he uses the word retard, or the way he comes back at them is almost more entertaining. But I am very lucky on Into the Necrosphere that there's been some episodes where there's been some incredibly stupid things that people have commented. But generally speaking, I've got an incredibly incredibly intelligent and incredibly interesting group of people that listen to the show. I'm very, very, very fortunate in that.
And, and that's something to be said because you can, if I did grow this, and I know what I could do to make this bigger. For one, talk about bigger bands, and two, talk about something controversial, But those are two topics I'm genuinely not interested in, so it just would be fake, so I'm not going to do that. And plus, two, if it gets big like that, you attract all these fucking retards. People are scared to say that, fucking idiots. But I like how it is now, man. It's a good group of people. And like even at the Dead by Dog show, I talked to a ton of people. I mean, it had to be like 50 people or more that were talking, hey, I love your channel. And it's not like it's egotistical, damn. Like, I really appreciate the fact that they like it. And they're really into it. It's not just some idiots coming there to look at a fucking funny man with a mask on screaming. They're really into the stuff I talk about, the bands, and they tell me, oh, I learned about this band on your channel, whatever, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. So on the topic of wrestling, when did you fall off? Like when did you lose interest?
I pretty much right after when the WWF bought WCW. Up to that point, because I was a big fan in the 80s, and then till 89, then when I think around the early 90s, I just kind of dropped off. And then I got back into it around 97, when Stone Cold came to WWF and the Bret Hart and all that shit. And then NWO came out, and I'd be watching both Monday Nitro and Raw, changing the channel. I was really into it at that point, but then once they combined, I just kind of just fell off, stopped watching. I got bored.
I fell off after that happened as well, but there are, because I got the WBE network when that was a thing, and I went back and I watched a lot of stuff that I had missed, and there were some really good matches and some really good feuds, and actually some really good promos as well. But now, I'd say probably from about 2012, fucking hell, man, it has been completely and utterly unwatchable. And this year, I think it's hit the lowest that it has ever hit. I mean, it's worse than, when you were talking about like the early 90s when Duke the Dumpster Drozy was like being pushed as like a, main event talent. It was bad. I would take that era over this new garbage any day of the week.
Doink the Clown.
Doink the Clown. I mean, at least you had Razor Ramon in those days. Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels had a very good ladder match. They had two very good ladder matches. WrestleMania 10 and SummerSlam 94, I think, 95.
That was good.
Those were fucking amazing.
Funny about Razor Ramon when he was, in WWF and hot back then. I remember I was watching that, I didn't know who he was. I was like, oh, where'd this guy come from? I remember watching one day, I was looking at him. I kept looking at his face like, where do I know this motherfucker from? Until I realized that Scott Hall used to be in the AWA. He was the tag team champion with Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, before Mr. Perfect. So I knew who he was. He had a big fucking mustache, looked totally different. I was like, this guy's not even Cuban, man. He's a fucking white guy trying to talk like he's got, hey, man. Hey, Chico.
Well, he kind of kept up that ruse even when he was in the in WCW. Even when he was being booked as Scott Hall in the NWO, he was still doing like the hey yo right before he starts talking.
I remember the first TV appearance when he walked out there. Everybody's like, oh, and he goes, yo, on the mic. Good stuff, man. No, I like Razor Ramon, Scott Hall. I thought he was a good wrestler.
Oh, he was brilliant. Very underrated from a promo perspective as well. I always thought his promos were great, even when he was Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do to cut promos as yourself, like when you're The Rock and you're just cutting a promo, speaking your own voice, but to actually do a good one using an accent, I tip my hat to him.
Well, early on, he was believable because I believed it until it just one day it clicked, and I was like, wait a minute. I know who you are.
So when it comes to promos, when it comes to like mic work in professional wrestling, who are some of the guys that you think are the cream of the crop?
For me, it's a very easy answer. Roddy Piper. That is my all-time favorite wrestler of all time. Especially his 80s work.
Yeah.
When he became a baby face, but his 80s work as a fucking heel, man, you can't beat that. Piper's Pit, humiliating people on there every day, and when he smashed a coconut over Superfly Snuka's head, I mean, it's just fucking brilliant, man.
I remember the one that caused a lot of controversy when he had like the half black face.
Oh yeah,
and it was like. Yeah, and the whole angle of it was like that Bad News Brown has to guess what he's going to be when he comes out. Like, is he going to be the Hot Rod or the Hot Scott? I thought that was fucking brilliant.
It's funny shit, man.
But yeah, for me, elite of the elite, Stone Cold, especially as a heel. As a good guy was fine, but as a heel, and I actually think as a heel during like the Alliance era, which a lot of people hate, but I think that 2001 run when he was a heel and he was doing all sorts of crazy shit, it was fucking hysterical. There was one thing that he does. I sent to my friend Cheyenne earlier today because I'll randomly go on YouTube and watch a few things. I think they were in San Antonio, and Test came into the ring, and he's talking. He asks Test a question, and Test says, "I don't want to talk about that. I do want to say that I've never been in a place, but like something to the effect of I've never been in a place where I dislike the people more than the people in Texas." And the people are like booing and going crazy, and Stone Cold bursts out laughing, and he turns around, he says to the people, "He's talking about you guys. He's not talking about me." It's such a childish thing to say, but it's so fucking funny.
But actually, right, it's him at that era and The Rock also both had some really good banter.
Oh,
yeah, really good stuff, man. And that was a really good time of wrestling at that point right there. Yeah. I was really into Stone Cold and his height, and then when The Rock built up, because originally he was Rocky Maivia and he kind of sucked, man, but then he finally found his footing, man. He became a damn good wrestler and talker.
Well, I remember when the switch flipped, the like very famous promo that he cut when he took the microphone, and he still had, I think he might have even still had the Maivia clothing on, or I think he had already joined the Nation of Domination by that point. Yeah. And he was like, "Die, Rocky, die," and he basically like started chewing out the audience. And from then it was just gold. But I think he got better as time went on. In like 2004, he had a feud with Hogan after they'd had their first match at WrestleMania 18. There was one thing where he's like on a he's like doing a conference call basically with him, and he's like he's a bit playful at first, and then he says to Hogan, "Just remind me to do one thing when I see you. Remind me to whip that ass. That's all I ask." But it's such a fucking ludicrous thing to say to somebody. And then one of my other favorite promos, and I've mentioned it on the show before, New Jack. Like in terms of like heel, like real raw heel heat. You've seen the Smoky Mountain Wrestling promo where he says, "Shout out to my man OJ, too less to worry about. Keep up the good work, baby."
Yeah, he was a very, well, I say believable. I think all that shit for him was real. That's who he was.
Dude, did you ever see the interview that he did? And this was like a serious interview. It was on a podcast. And they were talking about, they were talking about his views on gangs. He said, I never really liked gangs. I never got into one. It feels a bit gay, doesn't it? I watched that and I thought to myself, he was probably the only man who could say that gangs are gay. And if there were a bunch of Bloods or a bunch of Crips on like the side of the road and he came walking down, they would just cross the street and they'd get in their car and speed off. Like that's how much of a fucking psycho he was.
He was definitely that.
Yeah. So as we kind of round the bend on wrapping this up, you guys right now, you've put out the new EP, but you guys you're on signed to a label at the moment, are you?
Well, we did that split record with Gems, JEMS Records, which is a great label. It was kind of a dual thing where we would help pay for some of it too. But as far as, then Goat Throne Records, who put out our full length. But as of now, we pretty much do all our shit ourselves, man. All our promotion and everything. And I like to keep everything in-house. We record all our own stuff. With the split, though, the newest stuff, we did get someone else to mix and master it. Sounds a lot better, pretty good. A guy named Chris from a black metal band called Seder did it. But everything else, we do it ourselves. We shoot our own videos, our music videos. We do our own songs. We do our editing, all the design layouts. We do it ourselves. We don't want any motherfuckers. The less people involved, the better.
Mm-hmm. So you're not actively looking to get signed or talking to any labels. What about Hell's Headbangers? Like that would be that just business wise, that feels to me like a perfect home for you guys.
Hey, if they want to do it, I would. Because you see, the thing is right now, like if we say we did a new full length, if we put it out on our own, we would make more money putting it out ourselves compared to having them do it. However, the advantage of having them do it is they get it circulated more. They have the name, they have the distribution, because they trade other labels and stuff. So that's why I would want to do something with them or whoever. That would be the advantage. Because right now, we post stuff on our Bandcamp. We sell out of that shit all the time. People buy it. But in order to spread out beyond that, we would need to get on a label, and Hell's Headbangers would be a good one in that regard, as far as getting better distribution around, especially in Europe and whatnot, and South America. That's two areas that I would really want to get our stuff out into.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of playing shows and stuff like that, would you are you aiming at doing some traveling outside of the States at some point?
We would. It's I think we're being very strategic about stuff and slowly building up the momentum, getting the word out, because I want to make sure we do play somewhere people are going to at least halfway know who we are, versus just showing up and we booked a show and 5 people show up or some crap like that. I want to make sure it's well worth it. And so far, all these shows we've done have been well worth it. It's all been good, and it's been a lot of cool people, a lot of people coming out supporting. So we're eternally grateful to all the people that have been supporting it. That's for damn sure.
Awesome. Well, to every single person listening, support Mordant Rhed. They are sick as fuck. One of the best new bands I've heard in a long time. And as I said, when I first heard you, Vincent was absolutely right. Dude, what a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we do it again at some point down the road.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. When you contacted me to do this, I was like, absolutely. So I already fucking like your podcast. So yeah, it was my pleasure.
Awesome. All right. Well, like I said, we'll do one again sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Too.
Mordant Rhed with Knife Wound Memories, taken from their new split EP, Bonded by the Bomb. That EP also features the smooth stylings of Lord Humongous, who we will listen to in just a minute. But I want to say a massive thank you to Rhevok for his time. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Make sure you check out the Mordant Rhed Bandcamp, link in the description to the podcast. One of the best new bands that I've discovered in a very long time. Shout out to Vincent Crowley from Asheron for making the recommendation, and I think you're going to hear a lot more from this band and about this band, not only on this podcast, but everywhere. So again, thank you very much to Rhevok for his time. What a fucking cool dude, and what an absolutely sick EP. Now, still more to come. The weekly news rant is in just a few minutes, but I said we're going to hear some Lord Humongous. So taken from the same EP, here is a brand new track by Lord Humongous. This is And Then There Were None.
Repeating, out of
Wrapping up our celebration of one of the best EPs of 2026, you just listened to Lord Humongous with one of their contributions to that release, and then there were none. Lord Humongous, of course, they have been featured on the podcast before. I think it's time for them to be featured as guests. So if you like that idea, drop me a line in the comments. In the meantime, make sure that you get hold of that Bonded by the Bomb EP. It is absolutely fucking crushing. Friends, for those of you guys that are new to the podcast, you may not be aware of this, but usually this segment of the show is reserved for some prime unsanctioned filth, by which I mean bands that have not been signed yet. They have just blown their last rent check on a demo or on a new album. If you are one of those bands and you want to get your stuff heard, drop me a line at intothenecrosphere@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, or X. If I like what I hear, I will feature you on the show. And of course, you will go forth from that point on to fame, fortune, and glory. I'm also a member of the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, a group of like-minded content creators dedicated to bringing you the very best in free entertainment from Monday to Sunday. We kick off on a Monday with Horrorwolf 666. That's brought to you by Brandon Legion. Tuesdays, you've got yours truly casting hexes and slaying poses right here on Into the Necrosphere. Wednesdays, we have your first double shot. It starts with Iblis Manifestations, brought to you by Cheyenne. We also have Everything Went Black, hosted by Mike Hill. Mike Hill is back on a Thursday with Necromaniacs, alongside his co-hosts, the Professor Jeff Kashid and the Sheriff Mike Scondado. They review new and old horror movies, one of the very best podcasts of the week. And then on a Sunday, we wrap things up with Soul Knox, a curated tour through the dark, the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric. That is brought to you by the Reverend himself, the Sinister Minister, Carl Hykara. Right now, my friends, if you're the kind of septic vermin who goes on social media and posts about your allegiance to your favorite political party like you're the member of a fucking street gang, then it's time for you to hit the bricks, because this is my weekly news rant.
A roundabout for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
My friends, as always, we kick off on metalstorm.net, the finest metal news website in all the land. Lots for us to go through this week. There usually is when you've been away for a week. I love how everything kind of stacks up a little bit, and we've got a load of questions left over from the last news rant that I recorded with Sheriff Mike Scondado. We also have a bunch of new music, and if you stick around, I'll tell you why I took a week off. It's actually something I'm pretty excited about. I have hinted at it a couple of weeks ago. No, I'm not quitting the podcasting game, but it is something that I've been working on for a little while now. We're kind of getting to the business end of it, so I can share a few details with you. First up, though, let's get into some music. Master have just put out a brand new track. It says here, to promote their upcoming album release, Among the Seeds of Death, death metal veterans Master now stream the first single called 'Twas Always a Plan. I think I'm probably like a lot of Master fans in that whenever I go into listening to a new release by the band, I go in assuming it will never impress me as much as the first album. The debut album by Master came out in 1990, as pretty much anybody listening to this podcast should know. That is fantastic. They have been pretty prolific since then. Their last record, Saints Dispelled, came out in 2024, and I've got to admit, purely because 2024 was much like probably the last 4 or 5 years, a year of very heavy traffic. I didn't really pay a huge amount of attention to it. I do kind of feel like it might be worth my while to go back and give it a listen because I really like this song. It has all of the hallmarks that I have always liked out of Master, the thrash influences, death metal. It's nice and fast. It's nice and aggressive. I think Paul Speckman's voice in particular sounds fucking absolutely badass on this song. No doubt that's as a result of him still reeling from being called out by bum sweat connoisseur Andrew Lee from Rip to Shreds over Master playing Metal Threat Festival last year. But those jokes and trivialities aside, I like this. It gets a thumbs up. And if you like it, the album gets released on October the 16th by Hammerheart Records. So I will also assume they're going to be doing some touring. Another comment that I would make, by the way, a very nice album cover. I did think that when they made the announcement about the record, I was like, man, that's some pretty decent artwork. Which brings me to my first question. Spooky Wookie has asked me, Jackie started listening to the show last year and love your interview style. I think your guests do too. Question submission. What are your top 5 favorite album cover artworks? How important is album art for you? Any examples of album covers that undersell an album? So firstly, thank you very much for the kind words, Spooky Wookie. I think, if memory serves me correctly, that I did actually do so I answered a similar question maybe a year or two ago. And I bring this up because most likely the names I'm about to give you, there'll be some overlap, but I probably gave different album covers last time around. That being said, the top 5 that came to mind when I saw your question. Dissection, Storm of the Light's Bane. I always really, really liked that album cover. Had a big poster of that up on my wall for a big chunk of my teenage life. Love the look of it. Burzum, Philosophem. There is, it's such a different album cover considering the style of music and considering, what album covers generally tended to look like at that time. And I think Philosophem and in particular Dawg, to me, that is just absolutely quintessential black metal. I mean, again, if you listen to this podcast, you know my thoughts on that. I think many of you probably feel the same. But if there is a definitive sound of Norwegian black metal, to me, it is that song. And I think that cover really embodies that song and the whole spirit and vibe of that album really nicely. Akrakaka, Corensen, how can you not? It's my favorite album of all time, so it stands to reason that it's going to be one of my favorite album covers of all time. You got nakedness on it, which, that's always a plus. And then, again, I like the contrast of the black and white with the red. Having heard David tell the story way back on episode 150 when he and I did our chat in the park, and you can go check that episode. Check out that episode. It's up on YouTube. And he kind of explained the story of how that album cover was put together. I think that's fucking awesome. Morbid Angel, Covenant. To me, Covenant is an album cover that kind of it's always felt to me like Covenant is a huge album without trying to be huge, and it started with a cover. I remember just seeing that and going, "Whoa, this is going to be something quite special." I don't think that they've ever had. I mean, they've had good album covers. I like Altars of Madness. I like the artwork on Blessed Are the Sick, but I don't think they've ever had an album cover that has just been that striking. So that one is on the list for sure. And then a more modern selection that I really, really like, Immolation, Acts of God. Just a really beautiful painting, but one that also captures the spirit of that record perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Now, in answer to the additional questions around how important I find artwork to be, I'd be lying if I say it's overly important. I think it's always, to me, it's a nice to have. If the album cover looks cool, then, generally speaking, I will pay attention to the rest of the album. And in terms of album covers that maybe undersell an album, I know there are probably many. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. So I'll put a pin in that one as and when any come to mind, potentially at some point on the news rant. Then I'll throw those in there. But those are that is my definitive list as of right now. August the 22nd, in the year of our Lord 2026. Those are my favorite album covers as of right now. A band that has received loads of love on Into the Necrosphere, Mother of Graves. They've got a new album coming out in October. It says here, Indianapolis-based death doom metal outfit Mother of Graves will release their new studio album, The Light That Keeps Us, on October the 16th via Profound Law Records. As a first preview, the band has unveiled the album's lead single, Through the Pale Shade. going to pause there. It says here that The Light That Keeps Us was produced, recorded, and mixed by guitarist Ben Sandman at GLB Studios. Apparently, the album was also mastered by the legendary Dan Swano, who makes a guest appearance on the opening track. I highly doubt that he had anything to do with the fact that this definitely sounds to me like more of a throwback to 90s death doom than I can remember the previous two records sounding. Those previous two albums, for reference, Where the Shadows Adorn, that they put out independently in 2022, and then The Periapt of Absence, that came out in 2024. Both, by the way, highly, highly recommended. I mean, they are top-notch tier 1 stuff. This sounds very promising. I'm not as grabbed by it as I was by the first singles that they put out on those previous two records. Like, I think we featured both of them, or at least we featured some of them on the news rant at the time that they came out. And I was a lot more impressed by it. I think partly because a lot of the stuff that they put out originally in terms of singles, and I might be slightly off on this, but as I recall it, it was more kind of mid-tempo. It had obviously the doom elements and, that dark, somber atmosphere to it, but it was a bit more driving, a bit more mid-tempo. This feels a bit more deliberate, slower, slowed down, I should say. And like I said, more of a throwback to sort of early 90s, Anathema, My Dying Bride era death doom. But I do like it. So it gets a cautious thumbs up. I think it's one of those tracks where you probably need to hear the whole album to fully appreciate everything that's going on. And like I said, just knowing what these guys are capable of, I highly doubt that they are about to release something that sucks. So good to see them back as well. Honestly, it feels like only yesterday when they put out their previous record. So time sure does fucking fly. And I hate to sound like an old dude, but you just honestly, like, I've had this so many times on the news rant recently where you'll check out an album and you'll go, man, didn't they just put out something last year? Then you go back, you go into Metal Archives while the song is playing, check the credits, and it's like, no, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Anyway, all right. We have another question here from Aaron Whitesides. He says, hey, Jackie, hope all is well with you and yours. We just got back from Norway, and it was amazing, of course. Beyond the Gates is such a great time, and so much more than a festival with all the different metal-related stuff to do. Absolutely agree. I really, really want to go next year. I don't think that I'll make Inferno next year because we're thinking of going to South Africa. The young Jackie, the Jackson Jr. will have been born by that time. He's due on November the 25th. And so the plan, I think, is to go to South Africa for about 6 weeks or so to go visit the family over there and show the young man where his roots lie. So, yeah, so as a result, I think that time is going to overlap with Inferno. But Beyond the Gates, definitely want to try and make the pilgrimage there next year. Anyway, Aaron asks 2 questions. 1, do you think that Icelandic black metal bands have their own unique sound? Yes, I definitely do. If so, would you attribute that to geographical isolation and all the crazy landscape there? Yes, I most definitely would. I had the dude from Altari on the podcast quite a while ago, like way back when they first put out their debut album, and I remember us talking about it when he was on, and he was saying the fact that they have periods of time where there's so little sunlight, all they have to do is sit at home and play music, and I really do think that does have an impact on how a lot of those bands sound. I mean, there's probably a lot of different things that impact it. And I would also say it's not like Iceland is alone in the fact that their music sounds unique. Polish black metal sounds unique. Australian black metal sounds unique. Norway has a vibe. Sweden has a vibe. All these countries, they all kind of have their own unique style. But yeah, it was Oscar Per Gudjonsson, by the way, from Altari. That episode, incidentally, if you want to go back and watch it, it's episode 173. And that Altari debut record is fucking phenomenal. But yeah, there's no question that they sound unique. Anyway, he then asks, what are your favorite 5 Icelandic black metal bands? So off the top of my head, at number 5, Sinmara. Number 4, Altari. By the way, Oscar is I think the brother of the vocalist in Samara. Might be wrong on that, but I think that's the case. Number 3, Almirqui. Fucking superb band. The split EP that Almirqui did with the Ruins of Beverest. Holy fucking shit! That's kind of where I discovered that band. I just want to remind myself of the name. It's one of those where I could not more strongly recommend that you check that out. I just wanted to take a gander and see what the title of the split was, but it didn't actually have a title. It was just called The Ruins of Everest / Almirqui. But they had 2 songs on there. I heard that, was blown away, and that's why I decided to check out some other stuff in their back catalog. At number 2, Swartudi, fucking superb band, and then this one's going to come as a bit of a shock to a few of you. At number 1, by a fucking nose, we've got Mystirming. In my view, not just one of the best Icelandic black metal bands, but one of the best black metal bands, period. I don't think, as far as the newer generation of black metal bands are concerned, I think there are very, very, very few names that can hold a candle to what those guys do, both live and in the studio. We'll talk a bit more about that in just a second, because there was a very interesting interview on the Router channel on YouTube where they were talking about the newer generation. And I've got some thoughts on what was said during that interview. But first, Wolves in the Throne Room have got a new album coming out. They have announced that they will drop their new full-length Estuary on October the 23rd via Century Media Records and Relapse Records. It says here, the Black Metalers have shared the album details, including a cover and track list, and also a new track entitled Ghosts Among the... what the fuck's wrong with me this morning? Ghosts Among the Obelisks. Man, I got to tell you, For me, Wolves in the Throne Room's star has been on the ascent. I have found their music to be progressively more enjoyable with every new release, and really peaking with Primordial Arcana that came out in 2021. I think that was actually on my top 20 for that year. Great record. I kind of expected something that I would enjoy with this new single, but holy shit, that was fucking tremendous. Top notch, no question about it. And I don't know whether I'm alone in thinking that the opening, minute or so of the song, there's a bit of a riff there off of Hess's Dort by Burzum. The same kind of, hypnotic riffing. You got the double bass that just kind of, or the rolling double bass that just kind of kicks in. The beat of the song just kind of starts. And then at around 1 minute 40, it almost goes into a bit of a slight Paradise Lost vibe, but through the prism of Wolves in the Throne Room, really layers on the atmosphere. I like everything about it. I think the production sounds fucking cool. It's got a very organic, almost 1990s sound to it. So, yeah, this is fucking superb. This is, this verges on beyond top notch, I've got to say. Like the album cover as well. I am definitely counting down to when this record gets released, and I'll see if I can get Aaron Weaver from Wolves in the Throne Room back on the show. It was nice talking to him at Fortress, but of course it's going to be a lot more enjoyable to actually have an in-depth conversation with him one-on-one, without the audience there. I say enjoyable, but just, you know what I mean? I'll be able to extract some more information and some more interesting stuff, some more interesting nuggets out of the chat with him there. But that is fucking magnificent. Comes out, just as a reminder. I think we might have mentioned this already, but either way, October the 23rd, 2026. Fucking hell, man! October's starting to hot up. There's a bunch of stuff coming out in October. There's a bunch of stuff that is supposed to be coming out that hasn't been announced yet. So things are getting exciting. Now, speaking of excitement, Nergal and Dargur were on Router's channel for an interview recorded at Beyond the Gates. They were talking about the Sventivith storming near the Baltic performances that Nergal and everybody from Mysterium have been doing. It's an excellent interview. I really love Jerry's style, and I love the Router channel generally. I highly recommend you go and check out the whole thing, but there's one clip here that I wanted to share with you, and then I'm going to give you my take on it straight after. So let's watch.
And I do have a big problem. I think I'm actually in a deep crisis with what is happening with the world today. I'm not catching up with today's technologies, lesser and lesser. I don't really like 95% of modern artistic offer out there. For some reason, it just turns out to be a blur.
And I share many of those opinions. I see a big lack of quality, and I think it's mostly because there's so much supply today. Like anybody can make an album today. You can go to a store, buy a sound card, and just record the demo in your basement, which people have actually been doing for decades. But it's much easier today. So the supply is so much, you don't even know if you hear a new band if it's recorded in a studio or a basement. And I am not bothering very much checking out what's new today. I need to get a recommendation from somebody I take seriously.
I disagree. Now, again, respect to all three men. Like I said, you all know my thoughts on Mysterium and on DG from Mysterium. Jerry is somebody that I consider a friend. He will definitely be back on the podcast at some point this year. And then I will say the interview was even enjoyable enough to where I softened my stance on Nergal a little bit. He came across as a little bit more down to earth. And while I do agree with the fact that the supply is, absolutely mammoth at the moment when it comes to black and death metal releases, there is no question that there is also a load of very, very good stuff being released if you know where to look. So I have, using the following logic, compiled a list of 10 albums by bands where, and here's the logic, they must have released their debut record after 2020. So if we follow the train of thought that a new band, we can consider a band to be new, if they, if their debut album came out after 2020. I've got 10 albums that you absolutely need to check out. And on top of that, I have removed from that list albums by established musicians. So straight away that takes out, or new projects by established musicians, I should say. So that straight away takes out Faustian. Their new album, Parable of the Sewer, is a masterpiece. Permafog, Weird Staff, and Serpent. So if you're an established player, if you're an old hand in the game, then I've taken you out. Now, on that list of 10, the albums that you absolutely have to check out: Mordant Rhed, Bonded by the Bomb, the new split EP. Spoken about that at length on this episode. Hexea, The Ancient Gaping Mouth, Hammer Philosophy, Signum, raved about them a couple of weeks ago. Malum, From the Voids, absolutely fucking brilliant. Just so happens I've got the main man from Malum on the show next week, so make sure you tune in for that one. Vafurlogi, Nicety of Uldi Goods, fucking genius. Epikoros, Black Sun Eclipse. I'm not the only one who's been raving about that record, and for good reason. Horsemen, Brendar, Rooster, and I'm not going to bother even pronouncing the rest of the album name. You guys know what I'm talking about, the new Horsemen album. Lamp of Murmur, The Dreaming Prince in Ecstasy, absolutely blew me away. Kozkrod, Carving the Causeway to the Underworld, and then finally Drugoth, Battles May Cease But War is Forever. I had to throw in a Drugoth album there, and Battles May Cease But War is Forever is, in my opinion, the absolute peak of what he has put out so far. And he's a creative lad, so he's going to be putting out plenty more, I'm sure. But yeah, there you go. And I mean, it didn't even take me a long time to pull that list together. So yes, you are absolutely correct, gentlemen. There's probably too much music being released at the moment for you to keep up. I think it creates the, what do they call it, the Netflix conundrum, where like you're so spoiled for choice, you don't quite know what to listen to first. But yeah, man, there's definitely, we're not in a dearth of good music being released. There's a lot of fucking dog shit being put out as well, but there's a lot of very good stuff. Okay, let's move on to another song. Enslaved reveal new album details and debut a brand new song and video. It says here, Norwegian veterans Enslaved have just confirmed the details of their new album, Mid. Is it called Mid? I don't know. I'll double check my pronunciation of that and perhaps correct myself after we've listened to the song. The album drops on October the 30th via Nuclear Blast Records. To promote it, the band just released the new song Solar Will, and the video is directed and recorded by longtime collaborators Colibri Media.
Sound of cosmic wisdom.
That is very good stuff. I don't want to necessarily say that it feels like Enslaved are back per se, but I will definitely highlight that the last Enslaved record that really stuck with me, that I went back and I listened to multiple times, was In Times. They came out in 2015. I thought E was decent, Utgard was decent, Heimdall was decent, but they were all kind of good tier, or good verging on great tier, rather than fucking masterful tier, which, you know, has been a consistent theme with this band. You know, I would say basically everything from the first album all the way up to In Times was flawless. So, yeah, these last couple of records were good, but they weren't records that I necessarily returned to. This, however, sounds like it most definitely has the potential to be an album like that. And by the way, Mir is what I am hearing on Google Translate as the name of the new album. So, apologies to everybody in Norway for butchering your native tongue, but Mir is how I am led to believe you pronounce the album title. But yeah, the song itself really good. I love the interplay between the clean vocals and the screaming. It is kind of classic psychedelic black metal-ish Enslaved riffing, but delivered in, you know, really the way that only they can deliver. So I'm giving that one a thumbs up as well. All right. Before we go on to another song, let's take another question. I had somebody submit a question a couple of weeks ago about professional wrestling and what federations I still follow and watch. And I'm trying to find who it was that submitted it so that I can actually give them credit for it. That being said, I will do so at some point. Either way, let me get to answering the question. And if you don't like professional wrestling, then you probably want to skip over the next couple of minutes. But I will say, hand on heart, that I like nothing that is being done in pro wrestling today. I think the WWE, first and foremost, is a fucking complete disgrace. I think they have proven that without Vince McMahon, they're basically nowhere. And I know Vince wasn't perfect, and, you know, obviously he has his proclivities outside of the workplace. He also made some very deplorable decisions when it came to booking in the last couple of years that he was with the WWE. But fucking hell, the way the product looks now. I mean, let's just start there. The way that it looks, with sponsors being plastered over the ring, you know, in every nook and cranny. The camera work looks fucking stupid. I mean, the promos are terrible. The quality of the wrestling is terrible. The wrestlers, every single one coming out of NXT, they can't sell, even though Shawn Michaels is the guy running the Performance Center and was one of the greatest sellers of all time. None of these new guys can sell. None of these new guys can talk. The women are fucking atrocious. Then you get to AEW, and AEW kind of sometimes do things that are relatively interesting, and it feels like they're starting to get on the right track, and then they go and fucking flub it with either, you know, a storyline that falls apart, or, you know, diving too much into the freak show stuff. The other day I saw John Moxley DDT a guy into a bed of nails. I mean, just complete stupid shit. You know, and again, in AEW, one of my biggest issues with a promotion is that they just can't sell. The guy will take, you know, the most insanely brutal move ever and just pop straight back up. I fucking hate that. I hate it. I understand, you know, it's work, and I understand it's not real. But the whole point of it has never been, you know, to convince us that, or the whole point of it has never been to kind of constantly remind us that it's not real. You know what I mean? So you go back to like the mid to late 90s, and of course, most of us knew that it was a work then, but the guys were still selling. The matches were still well done. You know, the performances were absolutely superb. They made you feel invested in the product. The promos, of course, I mean, you had Stone Cold, you had The Rock, you had, you know, Hulk Hogan when he was a heel. You had Bret Hart as a heel, who I think is a really underrated talker. You had The Undertaker, Mankind. I mean, the list goes on and on. But you can't compare the fucking slop that is being dished up today with anything that came out in the mid-90s, whether it's ECW, WCW, or the WWF. WWF at the time. So so that's my answer. And I mean, that response goes for everything that is being put out at the moment. Ring of Honor, I mean, I don't even know if they're doing anything anymore, but they fucking suck. TNA, abysmal. TNA back in like the early 2000s, they had something different going for them. It felt like they were presenting an alternative to the muck that the WBE was doing. But they're no good either. If you want to see great professional wrestling, and I frequently do go back and check out a lot of the older stuff, but if you want to see great professional wrestling, just type in WWE or WWF 1998 on YouTube, and you'll be taken to a plethora of the good stuff. And watching that after watching 5 minutes of anything that has come out since COVID, fucking hell, man. It's not the two things aren't even comparable anymore. Right. There's one particular song that I want to make sure that we get to, and that is the brand new Down single that came out. They have announced, they being Down, that their long-awaited new album, Volume 5, is set to hit stores on November the 20th, 2026, via their new label, Nuclear Blast. They've put out the first single entitled Blood Oath. They've included a link here with a music video, so let's give it a listen. Absolutely fucking masterful. Just to contextualize, so how I would rank the Down releases low these many years. At number 1 with a bullet, down to A Bustle in Your Hedgerow. I think that's the best thing that they ever put out. Nola, number 2, debut record, fucking superb album, and I mean it's got Stone the Crow, which is kind of their signature track. Down 3, Over the Under, was somewhat disappointed with it when it came out, and actually I still find it to be a relatively disappointing album. Now, the reason I find it disappointing, it's not that there's a lack of good songs on it. There's a lack of the journey feel that you had on A Bustle in Your Hedgerow, and I really felt like when I was hearing them talk about the record that there would be a bit more of that. Like, with A Bustle in Your Hedgerow, the thing that makes that album so fucking cool is that you've got rockin' songs like There's Something on My Side, The Man That Follows Hell, Stained Glass Cross, but then you also have these really slow, brooding, like acoustic songs like Learn From This Mistake, Where I'm Going. You've got things like Doob Interlude, which is a cool instrumental that kind of breaks up the record. The Seed, then picks things back up again. That breakdown at the end of The Seed where feels like this way of life has become an addiction. I mean, fucking just total masters of their craft at work. You didn't have that with Down 3. You also don't really have that with the 2 EPs that made up Down 4, which is why Down 4 would sit at number 4. I would actually say, based on what I've heard off of Volume 5, which is 2.5 minutes of the first single, I would probably stick this just below the debut, just off the strength of that album. Of that single. They're gonna really have to fuck up for this not to be a tremendous record, after that single. Really, really good stuff. It is so good to see Kirk Winstein back in the band. I mean, it was always going to be wrong for him not to be a member of Down. This just has the vibe, the feel, everything that I want from a Down single in 2026. Full sounds fantastic. The song does feel darker. It definitely does feel more. There's an air of menace to it that I don't necessarily think has always been present in much of Down's music by design. But this doesn't feel like it's contrived either. This just feels like Down doing something that comes natural to them, but that is a little bit different to what they've put out in the past. So this is going to get a beyond top notch. This will get a Song of the Week. We're going to start introducing that now on a more permanent basis. This is the Song of the Week. And speaking of what I have been listening to over the course of the past week, let's have a quick gander at what the listening stats say. So Red Harvest is an band I've gone back to, and then some. Good reason for that, and you may find that out in a couple of weeks' time. Impaled Nazarene, I really got into Ugra Karma again. What a fucking album. I've been doing a lot of listening to Chelsea Wolfe. Of course, the new album came out this past weekend, but Meadow, my daughter, and I also went to go and see her at Arctangent Festival this past week. That, by the way, was a absolutely phenomenal performance. We were right up against the barricade. It was really special for me to be able to go and see that with her. She is a massive fan, as am I, and Chelsea Wolfe. I know she's not the tipple of a great many members of the Legion. As far as I'm concerned, I think there is not a single woman in music today who is more talented. She's just in a fucking league of her own. But anyway, yeah, her new album, The Dark, is very good. It's in particular when you've seen a lot of the songs played live, and then the new Fen album that came out this past Friday, and that is pretty good as well. It's called Elemental Part 1, Mourning Earth. But I think we need to brace ourselves for a fucking spicy release schedule over the next few months now. There's always that lull in July, like late July, early August, because everybody is obviously out for the summer. But once that lifts, things start to get very, very interesting. So I'm excited about the things that are coming. Top of that list, this new Down record. By the way, I mentioned earlier that I would share why I took last week off. Now, one of them was the fact that my daughter was visiting, so I wanted to spend some time with her. The other reason for it is I've been working on a project with Cheyenne, he of Drivax, in case you didn't know. And so I conceived of the idea of doing a Trivax documentary a while ago. And originally, I was going to use some footage that I had shot in September of 2025. That footage wasn't really fit for purpose in the end, and so I decided to basically I decided to kind of write out like an outline for an actual documentary. So, rather than doing this like a podcast interview, just the two of us sitting down, I wanted something that felt more like the music documentaries that I really like A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica and things like that. Done, of course, to the best of my ability. I'm not a professional filmmaker. So I wrote an outline of, how we could kind of tell the story. Drove up to Wales to Cheyenne's house a couple of, probably about 7-8 weeks ago. Recorded everything with him. And I've just been working on it whenever I've had the time to do. He gave me access to a load of footage from Iran, a bunch of stuff that nobody's ever seen. And, we've spoken about his story on the podcast when he's been on. Yeah, he's also talked about it on other podcasts that he's been on, but it's never been presented in the way that we're presenting it. So I should say that we are presenting it with this documentary. So we've got a working title for the documentary. It's called Murtad. We don't have a release date for it yet. It's not going to be an Amazon Prime release, unfortunately, but we will release it on both of our YouTube channels. But there'll be plenty of posts and social media announcements when the time comes. I really hope you guys are going to enjoy it. It is it was a bit of a stretch for me, both in terms of my technical capability, and I've never done something like this before. But I finally, and this is the reason I'm talking about it this morning, is I finally finished a rough draft of it last night. So we've kind of got a rough version of it done. I think there's a few things that need to be tweaked around color grading. I need to fix a few bits with some of the B-roll and some of the external footage that I included. A few things need to be tweaked with the sound, but we're talking weeks, not months, before it gets released. And as I said, it's something that I have always thought should be done. I try to encourage people to do it. People outside of our circle, and there wasn't necessarily anybody who was willing to take it on, and so I just decided, fuck it, I'll do it myself. I've watched enough documentaries, music and otherwise, to know what I like and to know how I like documentaries presented. There have been a couple of music documentaries, I think, where they had the grain of a really good idea, or for a fact they had some really good footage, but it was never used. So I wanted to avoid that. And I also wanted to avoid anything that was cliche. So this is very much, I think a couple of people are probably going to be surprised by the tone of the documentary. It's very much a human story. We've removed any discussion around politics. There is obviously Iran as the backdrop, but really more, Iran as a theocracy. But the rest of it is very much focused on Cheyenne's story, which is a very human story, and I think is a story that a lot of people are going to find, really quite inspiring. I don't think you've heard it presented like this before. So anyway, look out for that coming out in a couple of weeks' time. More music. Miscreance have dropped their brand new single. It says here Italian tech death thrashers Miscreance are premiering a new song entitled The Moaning Hill. It serves as a third taste of their sophomore record, Reminiscence. That album comes out on August the 28th through Season of Mist. I'm going to pause there. The song is only 2 minutes 46 seconds long, so rather than us go through the whole entire thing, first impressions are it's very forgettable. There are good elements about it. The guys definitely know their way around their instruments. And I think that Andrea Feltrin does a very good impression of Patrick Mameli. But ultimately, I don't see this as being an album I'm necessarily going to have high up on the list of things that I'm desperate to hear the day that it comes out. And it's not really something that I can see myself going back to again and again. So tell me if you think I'm wrong on this, and if you think that 1 minute 46 seconds was too short to arrive at that judgment. But maybe bringing it full circle to the Dawg comment about an oversupply in the metal scene. There is an oversupply of tech death, in my opinion. All right, next up, we've got Skuggor, who unleash a single entitled The Storm. It says here, The Storm is the third and final single from Skuggor's upcoming studio release, The Expanse, that has surfaced online. Swedish atmospheric black metal operatives will put out the new album on September the 4th, 2026 via Nordvis. So if you were like me and you heard the name Matthew Bell and you thought to yourself, he don't sound like no Swede, you'd be correct, because Matthew Bell was born in Wollongong, New South Wales in Australia, but he does now live in Sweden. Also, the use of the word operatives was incorrect. This is a one-man project, and Matthew seems to be a very busy boy. In addition to Skuggor, he's also in Aeon Moon, A Boreal Trance, Autumn's Dawn, Avalanched, Beneath Forgotten Ruins, Evil Dogs, Forlorn Citadel, Glacial Dirge, Eye of the Trees and Wind, Moonlight Drowns, Nihilistic Depths, Depths, Rumor Joy, Silence Cold Alone, and the fucking list goes on and on. So yeah, he's a busy lad. That being said, I do quite like that song. I can take or leave a lot of atmospheric black metal. If it lacks any kind of severity, then you can just fucking keep it. That's black metal for the weak, for the guys that feel unsafe when Cleese are announced on a bill. But yeah, I do quite like that song. Just rounding the bend back on Arctangent, just in case anybody is going to ask me why I didn't see or talk about Napalm Death or High on Fire, we only bought tickets for the Thursday. We had plans for the rest of the weekend. So we saw Chelsea Wolf, as I mentioned, on Thursday. Very different crowd, by the way, to the usual black metal lot that turn up at Beyond the Gates and Fortress Festival. Quite a diverse crowd, but also quite a diverse lineup. We saw maybe 2-3 songs by Igor before we decided to go back to the main tent so that we could be at the barricade for Chelsea Wolf. Caught a couple of tracks by Alcest, who I've got to say played their absolute fucking nuts off. I can see why people are as taken with that band as they are. They're not quite my thing, but fucking hell, they were really, really impressive. We caught a few tracks by the Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza. Very disappointing. Total dog shit, to be quite honest. But probably outside of Chelsea Wolf, my favorite performance of the day belonged to Scorpion Milk. And Scorpion Milk, I really should have been paying a lot more attention to because I'm a massive fan of Matt McNerney and Hex Vessel. I also really like Beast Milk. And so the fact that Scorpion Milk is now there and kind of seems to be picking up where Beast Milk left off, that to me is very, very exciting. Their performance, their whole set was superb. 10 songs. They included 2 Beast Milk covers on there as well. Nuclear Winter and The Wind That Blows Through Their Skulls. But you could tell that Matt was really enjoying the living shit out of that entire performance. I know they've got, or they're supposed to have, a new EP coming out soon. But if you like, I wouldn't say if you like Hex Vessel, if you like Beast Milk and you like new wave, post-punk, Killing Joke style music, you definitely should check them out. The album that they put out back in 2025 was called Slime of the Times. But for me, the definite stars of the day outside of Chelsea Wolf. All right, let's do one more song, and then we'll head to the Porcelain Bowl of Reckoning for a dunk in this week, and I do have a good one. Let's go with Fluisteraars, who have just shared a new track as part of their upcoming full-length release, Jacht der Mysterien, due out on September the 11th. Fluisteraars are unveiling the first single entitled Conditis der Afstraffung. Very promising indeed. I love the hypnotic feel to that riff. I know some people might, who people who want a band to get to the point inside of 20 seconds are going to go, they've been stewing over that riff for the last 2 minutes. Get a move on. The song is 10 minutes 36 seconds long. But yeah, I like the way that they've deployed that really sort of hypnotic, almost droning feeling to the riffing. I think it helps set a very clear tone and a very clear atmosphere.
the song sounds, just in terms of atmosphere, it's very dark, which that definitely appeals to me. Yeah, overall, I love it. I'm going to give that one a thumbs up as well. No question. Probably a lot to discover in that song. Like I said, it is pretty lengthy. But what I heard there, I was most impressed with indeed. One more quick question, and then it's on to the Porcelain Bowl of Reckoning. Obsidian Shrine sent me a question saying, what is your favorite genre of music to work out to? I have found black metal and doom to be my most productive workouts. So I actually don't like working out to black metal at all. I like black metal when I'm working because I find that kind of hypnotic element to a lot of the riffing actually helps me concentrate a lot better. For workouts, it's old school thrash, and it's just knuckle dragging hardcore. I also really like, these days I've been listening to a lot of albums. So Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, Vulgar Display of Power, and Great Southern Trendkill. They've been mainstays when I've been working out. And also, I've really gotten into prong again recently. So Cleansing. After Mike and I spoke about it 2 weeks ago, Beg to Differ, I've been rocking as well. Yeah, that I would say that's my music of choice when it comes to what I work out to. I really like Pantera for working out, but no black metal. I find it to be, black metal to me is music that I feel like I either kind of need to have it as almost a stimulant while I work, or it's something that I want to really pay attention to, and kind of savor every moment of. So, thank you very much for submitting those questions this week, or that I've used this week. As always, you don't have to wait until I put a call out on Instagram, but you can reach out on Instagram, Facebook, or X. Drop me a line with your question, and I will gather them all together and feature them on the next news rant. Next week's news rant, whether I have a guest on or not, I think I'll post a StreamYard link on Instagram. So keep your eyes out for that. I usually record these on Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. So I'll do, when I do the recording, I'll put out the StreamYard link. If you want to avail yourself of that and sit in as an audience member, feel free to do so. Right now, my friends, let's head over to the Porcelain Bowl of Reckoning for the Swirly of the Week. Just over a year ago on the Weekly News Rant, I spoke about a young Czechia-based black metaler named Drogvale, who at the time had put out his debut album, Cruel World of Dreams and Fears. It was released independently, but it was causing something of a stir because of the album cover, which, if you are just listening to this on Spotify, let me just jog your memory for you. It featured a corpse-painted young blonde boy laying seductively on a bed of roses while dressed in knight's armor. There's a lot of debate at the time about whether or not this was AI, whether or not the music was AI. But my point in talking about it on the news rant, and subsequently the short that I released about it, was, I couldn't quite put my finger on whether or not this guy was a marketing genius, a just absolute god tier troll, or whether he just lacked any sense of self-awareness. Now, that being said, he has recently taken a bite out of that debut album once again and released a brand new music video. And I do believe that the answer to this riddle is starting to become abundantly clear. Watch. I'll stop there. Again, if you aren't watching this on YouTube, just take my word for it. The music video is one of the most atrocious things I have ever seen in my life. But I got to tell you, I'm actually starting to quite like this guy. And I'll tell you why. It is because in doing a black metal music video that literally looks like it was rendered by a Sega Mega Drive in 1993, this guy has once again guaranteed that loads of people are going to be talking about the band, loads of people are going to be dissecting the music video, and a bunch of people are going to be, debating whether or not he's fake, a poser, the worst guy on the face of the earth, etc. And that audaciousness, I find that quite appealing. So this is not actually a dunk on Drogvale. I do believe now this dude is actually trolling the ever-loving shit out of the scene. And, it has certainly yielded benefits for him. That music video that we just watched now, it's a far cry from the first one that he did, which I think has got well over 100,000 views, but it still has 24,000 views, which if you think about some of the bands that I have featured on the podcast as guests, guys that, bands we all love that we talk about on the news rant, they don't even get a tenth of that sometimes. So what he's doing is working, particularly in a oversupplied market, as we spoke about earlier. He has definitely found a way to get people to talk about Drogvale and to talk about what he does. Let's just leave the debate about whether or not this is AI or is not AI. Let's leave that out of the question. That being said, his approach is not one that I would recommend to everybody, and there is an element of it being a cautionary tale of sorts, because sadly, when you stick your foot into the, let's say, the wider metal audience, or you appeal to the wider metal audience rather than just us insular misanthropic lot, you do tend to then uncover the biggest morons to ever walk the face of the earth. And that has been the case with Drogvale, because if I go through some of the comments on that short that I posted, I have rarely seen, and I've been fairly lucky. I've not had a huge amount of stupid comments posted on my YouTube channel. There's been a few for Gol, which I've mentioned before, just people being homophobes and idiots. There's been a couple here and there that I've looked at and I've thought, hey, you really are an absolute dumbass. But with this is something completely different. What I'm getting from the Drogvale fans is the same energy that you get from Slipknot's fans, Marilyn Manson's fans, Black Veil Bride's fans, in that these are social outcasts who have between them maybe 10 IQ points and about half as many steady jobs, who somehow believe that when you dare say anything about a band they like or some cause they've picked up, that somehow that is a personal attack on them. And I'll give you a sampling of some of the more retarded comments that I have heard on this, or that I read on this short. One person here writes, "This is a terrible boomer take. A lot of people find this to be a natural evolution of raw black metal vibes." Firstly, the moment that I hear you use the word boomer in any kind of argument with me, I immediately write off everything you have to say thereafter. You are demonstrating to me that you basically have no argument. You've got nothing to say for yourself. And so what you're going to resort to is one of the most overplayed, boring, and fucking annoying memes on the face of the earth. And let me tell you something right now. People with your sort of attitude would have had a very, very fucking tough time in this scene 30 years ago. And I don't necessarily think that it's a good thing that the scene has been forced into becoming so much more tolerant. We've got one guy who writes, "I'm the guy what others call a black metal elitist." And then he goes on to crow about how great the album is, and effectively saying that because he's credentialed as a black metal elitist, we should all believe what he has to say. And of course, again, I'm scum of the earth for daring to suggest that I don't enjoy the music. There's one other guy that comments about the short. "I don't get this video. Black metal was always done by and largely for twinks." Fuck off, you complete and utter crotch-sniffing, fucking toe jam-sucking cunt. Yes, Mayhem
Darkthrone, Emperor, Immortal, Burzum, Dissection, they were all very young when they started making their music, but to dare say that it was done by and for twinks, what the fuck is wrong with you? And this is kind of my point. Like, I mean, I didn't, go to town on insulting Drogvale's, friends and family and, saying that he's the worst guy on the face of the earth. That was by all measures of the kind of stuff that I normally do on the weekly news rant, a fairly, if you go back and watch the short, you will agree. It was a fairly moderated, fairly centrist take on the dude. And like I said, now I'm actually starting to like him. I'm starting to like the guy's guts. I don't personally give a fuck whether or not you like Drogvale or not. You can love Drogvale, buy his shirts, buy his vinyls, do whatever you want. But to act like if somebody dislikes a band that you've suddenly picked the mantle up for, that somehow it is a personal slight on you, and you act as aggrieved as some of these absolute weasels are doing in the comments. Good God, that is pathetic. And it reminds me of the infamous line in Metalized Blood, "Wimps and posers, get out of the scene." These people really do need to get out of the scene. And if it were up to me, you wouldn't be in the scene. Every single last one of these wretched fucking just losers, these simps, these weaklings, every one of them would be rounded up and they would be airdropped over the middle of the Pacific Ocean in the most shark-infested area, or the most shark-infested part of the ocean that I can possibly find. In the absence of me being able to do that, I am going to drag every single one of you by your disgusting, greasy blue hair and your septum rings and your only God can judge me face tattoos, pull you up to the porcelain bowl of reckoning and give you the dunking that you deserve. And that, my friends, is the Swirly of the Week. That, my friends, also brings us to the very end of episode 329 of Into the Necrosphere. Big thank you once again to Rhevok from Mordant Rhed for his time, for a great interview. He'll be back on the show without a shadow of a doubt. I'm back next week with AA from the band Moaning. I want to say I hope that I have been able to keep you company in a thoroughly enjoyable way if you've listened to this all the way to the end of the episode. Whatever it is that you are doing, my friends, and wherever it is that you are headed as you're listening to this, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next week.
Girls won't touch me 'cause I got a misdirection. Helping my complexion. The signs all say I'm a social infection. A little bit of fun, never been an insurrection. A mob threw me out till I get some pants that fit. She just don't approve of my strange kind. cure.